Hey, girl. Alright, so first batch of mortar coming up. Got our sand, got our Portland, plus water, and a little bit of fiberglass pieces. And with these ingredients combined, we need one more bucket of sand, and we'll only use a half bag of that Portland. So 3 buckets of sand, about a bucket-ish of water, and a half bag of Portland makes a batch of mortar. Oh, plus a pinch of fiberglass. That's not really necessary, but makes a batch of mortar, which will be 3 buckets of mortar, and ends up being about between a third and a half as much price as buying the pre-mixed bags of mortar. So going with the budget by buying our Portland and sand in bulk. So the first batch of mortar is applied, and this rock wall isn't going anywhere. This is the cornerstone right here, which is the stone I didn't move. And then this over here is another cornerstone. This one. Another stone I didn't move. And the rest are all anchored into those two. But yeah, that's all for now. I'm really happy with that and how solid it is. And I just forgot how doing batches with Portland is so much better than doing batches with the premix, because I get 3 buckets all at once. I get so much more done, and I don't think about stopping after a couple buckets. Hey, girl. And yeah, once this solidifies, it's such a uniter, strength and unity. All these little rocks, with one batch of mortar, which ultimately cost about $10. All of these rocks become one giant rock, and then they'll get anchored into the tires and other things. But pretty cool. I made this rock wall here many years ago, and some parts of it are sturdier than others. Other parts of it have fallen down over the years. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to mortar this sucker up, or at least I'm going to do one batch of mortar and try not to knock down the existing wall as I apply that one batch. It'll probably take several, because then I'll have to do the other side. It'll probably take like 4 batches to get it fully solid, but by the time I'm done, hopefully no more of it will collapse. Here's how it looks after one batch from yesterday. So there's a lot of the holes were big, so it didn't really get very good coverage, but I'm looking to get it's good weather today, so I'm looking to get covering on this whole face here today, and then probably some on the back side. So we'll see how many batches I can get through. So that's after one. So it's just after 7 the following day, and this is how the rock wall looks on this side. So got coverage, some degree of coverage on just about all of it. And then on the back side, zoomed in here. Yeah. And then on the back side, I didn't get to the end here, so it ended right around there. But then got mortar on all that, and then the far side of the end section got mortar on the other side as well. So basically it's forecasted to rain between like noon and 1 today, which is why I got out earlier than usual. And then I'm going to try to get 2 batches done before 9:30, 10. So it has 2 to 3 hours to dry before any potential rain. Which if it's too wet, the rain will wash a lot of the Portland away and you'll be left with sand. So, I gotta get going. And then after the final batch on this side, just filled in the last few holes. So this side there's pretty much no holes, just maybe a couple right here. But and then it's pretty solid all through here. And then I'm rocking it down to this bedrock there. But that's all I can do for today because of the rain coming. And it's just about done as far as this season. I'll just need to do probably one more batch of pretty thick stuff to fill the last few holes on this side, and then the last few holes on the other side, which I'll show you. So here's what this rock wall looks like from this side. There's still a few holes that haven't been filled, but it's got coverage on most all of it. And I'm probably going to leave it there for now. As far as this project, at some point I'll build it up. And I was thinking I might put a line of rebar near the top of it. A lot of it is on bedrock, like right there. That's on bedrock. But then there's some sections where it's on dirt. So I might end up excavating some of the dirt in those areas so it stays drier. But overall, at this point, it's going nowhere. It's a solid rock wall. And I will probably pivot to other projects now. Hi, cuties. Look how many chickies there are. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I think there's currently there might be 16 currently, 15 or 16 total. These, the oldest ones are jumping out. And they're all doing good, and they just keep on hatching. Probably one every day or every other day on average. Wow, he jumped on top of the phone. Hi there. Today, Butterscotch is joining the other 3 big chickies in the outdoor area, and giving the other ones some extra space on the inside. So Butterscotch joined the big kids. There are 2 more little babies. Look how many chickies are up here now. Fudge is now up there with Butterscotch, Clyde, Little Boogie, and Kodiak. And here's some cuties. All the little babies down there. So I think I'm going to sell one batch of chickies. I think it'll be all the young ones who I haven't named yet. And I'll keep all the ones that I have named. And the ones that I sell will help to support the rest of the flock. And if they are to be named, they can be named by... Oh. Hi, Clyde. Clyde's on the phone. If they are to be named, they'll be named by their new caretaker. But I'm going to keep them for another week or so. Or 2 weeks, probably. At least 2 to 3 weeks. And it'll probably include the ones in the incubator, too. So I'm going to sell the chicks for $5 each. So that one chick earns about the same amount of money as a dozen eggs, minus the time and energy and food that goes into turning an egg into a chick. Good girl or boy. Looks like Clyde might be a boy. And then I'll take back any of the chicks from the person who's getting roughly 10 of them. Any of the boys that they don't want, I'll end up taking them back. And then either eating them or returning them to Or not returning them, but releasing them to nature, like I did the last 6 boys last year. That's all for now. Good morning. It is Wednesday morning, and it's been rainy for a number of days. Though yesterday evening I did do one batch of mortar over here. It turned out a lot wetter than I would like because the sand was wet, and so the ratio of water you add decreases if the sand is already wet, and I forgot about that, so I ended up with a really wet batch of mortar. So it was quite an ordeal and messy to apply, and a thin layer, but one batch was able to cover quite a bit, though it's not that solid of reinforcement. So I might add another batch over here today. And then what I've also done, I've got a rooster and a dog. Where are the girls? How come you're out here by yourself, Mr. Dino? There's 2 girls. I don't know why he's out here by himself. Oh, there's one girl coming. Running to catch up. Keep going, Sammy. You'll find him. So over here, this is like a boundary wall. So there's the rock wall over there, and then this is kind of like a mixed, like low effort wall where there's brush in there, there's some empty tires, and then there's some kind of trash cow panel fencing kind of in there as well to serve as a barrier when there's animals on the other side, and a property line. So then it gets to the gate on that side, and then to the green fence. And then right here, it goes to the rock wall. So what I did at the rock wall is I picked up all the rest of the rocks off the ground and added them to the top of the rock wall. So you see there's probably on average another 4, 5, 6 inches all over the top. And then more over here, like 8 or 10. And so I'm going to mortar all this first. Then it should rain in the afternoon, and then I'll get back to it. And then I'll probably mortar the other side. But this whole week is going to have a lot of good weather. So I'm going to have a lot of mortar projects ahead, and I'll probably talk less in the other videos. So I could certainly add more mortar to this wall, as it's really uneven, and a lot of those kind of crevices or areas under extruding rocks I would usually fill with mortar to get it to be more even. But for all intents and purposes, what I just wanted to do was ensure that the wall isn't going to fall, and so that I don't need to redo it again. And I have achieved that goal. So I'm going to call this project done for now, and it should be good for several years before I need to revisit it. The one thing I'll have to do before winter is dig some of the dirt out of that little valley there, and to reduce the ice. But that's all. So now I'm going to move on to a different project. So I was going to go right to the back wall, but ended up adding some more here just by the looks of it. I'm going to add a couple more layers into that corner just so that that whole structure is anchored in a little bit better. And then over here, got a couple batches, or just a couple more buckets on top of the first really wet batch from yesterday. And got it pretty smooth throughout here, but there's still some areas in there that I would definitely add more to, and over here. So I think that's what I'll do, is one more batch right now for in here, and then I'll call these two walls here, which were another project on my list. I'll call them done after the next batch. I keep on adding to this, the left side where I had done this rebar reinforcement project last season. So that there's a circle of rebar that goes through the ground and then up around this dome to help this dome structure bear any lateral force coming from that structure. And so that's why I'm cementing the bottoms of this and then part up against that wall and tying it into this footer type thing as well. So that's just kind of like sculpting it out one layer at a time. And then I think I might do a little more over here, but I filled in a lot over here. And similarly, definitely done with the lower left side. Might have a little bit more around the tunnel there. Filled in a hole over there, and yeah, I could probably do like a couple more buckets here to smooth that out, but it's not really necessary. So there was a crack through here, so it reinforced through that, and once you do it once, you might as well just keep on doing it until it's done, because over time dust and leaves get in there, which makes the bond not as good. But anyways, yeah, I think this is good for here for now. Clyde and Little Boogie are exploring the wider areas, and there's more chickies that have grown big enough to come fly to the rim of the tub. Look at this little blocker here, and then Lou just stands there on guard, just constantly have to stand there and stare at them so they can't get out. So I'll put, the weather is getting warm and sunny for like the whole forecast basically. So I'm going to move a number of these outside, and I'm going to have lots of opportunity for mortar. So I think I'm either going to finish or start some new mortar projects today. Chickies are getting out of the coop. So about 6 of them out here. And so for at least 2 of them, Fudge there, and then Klondike, who's still in the doorway there. It's their first time out here. But Butterscotch there has been out here once before, but hasn't been out of the gate. Like these 3 just got out of the gate. They continue to explore the boundaries of their world and expand the boundaries of their world in so doing. Did you see that rooster flap his wings? Is that scary? Before Clyde, on the far left, inside the house, had gone on a little adventure and ended up sitting on Lewis. And Lewis was being such a good sport, and Clyde went over to Lewis on the couch and just sat on top of him, or stood on top of him. Such a good boy. I think Clyde's a little rooster. And there, Klondike. Klondike's foot. I think it has use of one more joint in its foot. It doesn't like to focus on its foot though. Uh-oh. Little Boogie, you got stuck in there. How do you get out? Do you remember? How do you get out of there, Little Boogie? Over here, over here. Little Boogie, you gotta come around here. Through the gate. Come on, this way. Stay. Hi, cutie. This way, this way, this way. Little Boogie, over here. This way, yeah, follow. Follow Klondike. I'm having trouble holding the camera. There you go, back in, huh? This was my little pit stop before mixing the mortar, the first batch of mortar to put on the small tower foundation. I'm gonna put it back in the coop and be on my way. So what I've done over here, this is at the base of the gate tower where I built this buttress at the very end of last season, season 9. So I've run this piece of rebar up the tire stairs here, and then you can see the nails, which are into the tire. And so I'll cement the rebar to the nails, and then the rebar will be nailed to the tires, and call that porcupining with the nails like that. So then that goes up, and then all of this area in here, so you can see why it's called porcupining when you get so many. All the areas in between the tires, put those nails in so that when the stone goes in, the stone is fastened to the tires as opposed to just up against it, to help keep things tight. So we got the first batch to go on all this, and I'm gonna just start the cementing process for over here. See how far we get with one batch. Alright, so that's a small tower here. You can see the rebar, how it's extending the foundation. Got its first mortar, and then the two pieces of rebar connect right in that area in here. So that'll have to be extra thick right in that connection point. And then the next piece of rebar goes up, and then it extends up further so that it'll help to buttress the other structure once the foundation part is done. But those are the first two pieces of rebar that I'm adding to this structure. This is all kind of a new technique for me, putting rebar up onto tires kind of structurally and then forming the concrete out to eventually cover all the rebar. But I kind of like it so far. So it's a much different way of doing things, but it's interesting. So I'm gonna figure out how to anchor that other piece of rebar in next. So with the second two buckets of that batch, I put this piece of rebar in, which if you look at it from over here, you can see it's got a bit of a arch going this way, and the idea is to kind of outline the form where I want the buttress to go above that tire to reach those tires, and then to kind of spread the weight across the buttress foundation here as wide as possible. So then there's this one with that one, which will get to one side, and then they're coming together at a relatively close point. So that'll be like the strong point of this whole buttress. It'll all work its way up to that one point where those two pieces of rebar are coming together. And then I'll build some sort of stone thing in between that triangle and then fill out all the rest of these gaps with stone, and then this kind of stone rebar reinforcement of the final kind of buttress for the small tower will be complete. I'm not sure how many batches it's been since the last video update. I've been kind of too busy to make videos. But you can see over here the rebar is all covered, and then used rocks to fill the triangles underneath the rebar in between it and the tires, and then mortared all over those. So these stairs, they feel so solid now, and so a good bit of that force going downward and potentially outward from the tower is meant to be partially dispersed all through this extended base foundation thanks to the rebar, which it's a new process that I'm doing here, but I'm really happy with the results so far. And you can see how much mortar I've gotten onto the side of this buttress now. The rebar is mostly covered on that second piece as well, and then up top you can see there's a rebar coming vertically out of, oops, I didn't cut at the same time. There's a rebar coming vertically out of there, and then there's one coming diagonally as well. So the diagonal one reaches the tower, the one coming from here doesn't quite reach it, but it'll end up getting connected with the rocks that get built out. And packing out these tires, and this piece of rebar over here is largely covered. So this is the one that's bent all the way down to that tire there, and then it arcs up and then it goes to there. So this one should be able to take some force that would be lateral and redirect it downward. And in general, this tower is pretty well fortified so far, but I'm definitely going to want to add to this with quite a bit more mortar in the next day or two, and maybe fill out the triangle underneath that rebar at some point, so that I really feel comfortable about that whole thing being buttressed. But the end of another long and productive day. I think I got 5 batches done today, or maybe only 3, I don't know, but it was productive. I'll show you the other progress probably tomorrow. So after the second coat of mortar yesterday, this is how this feature turned out. I'm really happy with it. It's got a nice bench, or it's kind of like a little chair. You can actually fit 2 in there. So that'll be a nice thing to have down here for a very long time. It should last. And I'm basically calling this project done for now. A number of those tires aren't pounded, but they're sufficiently capped to prevent the water getting in. And the one that's pounded is crowned with enough dirt so the water mostly comes off. And I've got other projects to focus on other than this. This will get expanded in time in both directions. A staircase going up there. The wall will be raised up to a terrace area up there. But this is a good finish point for now. None of the other stuff really has to happen right now. And now I can move on to the next project and just focusing on... there's one more thing I'm going to end up doing on the rock wall to finish that up. But otherwise I'm going to go focus on the or the small tower reinforcement up until... do that first, and then there's a number of tire wall segments in the courtyard that will need reinforcing next. So that's the agenda for the next week. So today we've got the 4 fish, the 4 goldfish that survived from last year of the 6 that I got, and they've grown quite a bit. There's 1 brown one and 3 orange ones, and they've overwintered in the fish tank inside. I was gonna bring the big goldfish in first, but I'm doing these 4 small ones first instead. And there's all sorts of life activity and like mosquito larvae and stuff in here already, so they're gonna have a ton of food. And this is the release. They sat in this water, which was half from one tank and half from the other, and then they've sat here to acclimate the temperature for quite a while. And they're off. Little fishies in a big pond. It'll be difficult to spot the brown one. And I'm thinking I want to bring the big one in as well. But I'm just not quite ready yet. But good to get them in here. Hi, Grace. Hey, Kitty. Hey there. That's all for now. Hey, Dino, you loud rooster. So it's Tuesday morning. Today is the end of the first week of season 10. I just put 4 more chickies that hatched yesterday. There's one of them, I think the brown one, into here. There's now a total of, boy, how many? I think like 20 some chickies. There's one more who hatched in here. Where is it? It was having a lot of trouble getting out of its egg, so I had to help that one get out of its egg, crack its egg open. And then the rest of all the chickies are out here in their coop. It got a little cold last night, so I plugged up the hole to the outside. Hey y'all, how's it going? Y'all stay warm enough last night? How about everyone down here? Y'all doing okay? Good chickies? So that's plugged right now, and I'll unplug it in a couple hours when it heats up a bit. Otherwise it'll stay a little bit warmer in there. And the fruit trees are doing really good. This new one is just starting to wake up. And I've planted a number of different things. You can see the garlic over there is looking really good. The asparagus is starting to shoot up. I had, there's a little one, and then I had a piece yesterday. There's 2 thick ones, so I'm going to have to eat that thick one today. Eat the thick ones until they get down to like pencil width. So I'll have some early morning asparagus snacks. This apple tree over here still has yet to show any buds, so it's not clear if it'll live. But the peach tree over there in the middle, or the second, that one, has a few growth spots on it, so it's still alive. And that little plum tree over there is doing good. And then just the last update of the week. From week 1, I've been working on reinforcing the small tower, some mortar in various areas. So basically, instead of sinking, everything sinks a little bit because of the dirt and the settling. But the small tower, instead of sinking, it was tipping because it was on the edge of the hill, and it was sinking the most on the outside edge versus the rest. So the whole structure as one was starting to tip. And that was what was really concerning me about this wall right here. And now it can't tip because this buttress, you can see I added rocks and mortared over the rocks over this whole piece of rebar. So that goes all the way up to buttress that now, the stone, contiguous stone, not just the tires. And then similarly, this piece of rebar goes all the way down so that the foundation of the small tower now extends all the way down to this point. So it can't tip anymore without breaking some concrete and making cracks. And then there's rebar in there too, so it'll prevent it. But you can see how far I've gotten. And then with the two areas up here where the rebar extends to the structure, see, there's some down here so I can't walk on it. But I've added many batches, and I will need several more to finish on this structure. But basically what I want to do is finish this structure and then move on to a couple of things related more to just the tower, and then I can move on to the other way. So I'm starting at the far end on this side, and then I'll move over. So I'm hoping in the next week I'll finish this whole buttress structure. I guess you can't really see the top part as so well what I was trying to show, but how those two kind of juts from the rebar and the rock, how they reinforce the small tower there. So anyways, that's the last update for this week. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.